Monday, September the 8th, 2025 at 7 p.m. And just a reminder that this meeting will be recorded for public access and viewing. And with that, do I have a motion to accept the agenda or adopt the agenda? From Councillor Dykstra, seconded by Deputy Mayor Blingus. Questions to the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Reminded, motion carried. Moving on to item 3, conflict of interest declarations. Just a reminder, the forms are up in the cabinet. Fill one in and pass it in. And of course, if you have anything this evening on the agenda that needs to be declared, with that we'll move on to item number 4, adoption of the minutes. Item 4.1, regular council meeting of August 11th, 2025. Do I have a move? Moved by Deputy Mayor Williams, seconded by Councillor Dykstra. Questions to the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Moving on to item 4.2, special council meeting, August the 27th, 2025. Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Bland, seconded by Councillor Powell. Questions to the motion? Seeing no questions, all in favor? Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Moving on to item number 5, consent agenda. You would have all received a package with that. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda? So moved by Councillor Bland, seconded by Councillor Dykstra. Questions to the motion? Seeing no questions, all in favor? Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Moving on to item number 6, public and administrative presentations. Item 6.1, presentations, sunrise, twilight, sunrise.
Oh. Doesn't go. That's fine.
Okay. Oh, you were doing a clicker. Oh, I could have just, oh, sorry. Didn't say what you were doing.
I didn't have a mouse and I just forgot. There we go.
Okay, yeah, that'll work. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so as council knows, we've briefed council a couple of times in closed session with respect to this project. This is the start of what the EIA process requires as part of the public consultation process. So if the proponent for this proposed undertaking was not the municipality, but was taking place within the municipality, there would be a requirement for the proponent to present to the local body, in this case, the town. So while not necessarily a requirement where we are the proponent, we did want to bring it forward to a public session, just to have as a matter of public record to start our public consultation process under the EIA legislation. So we will cover a number of different items. Again, not news necessarily for council, but we'll give an overview of the information that we will start to publish in the coming weeks. Oops, wrong way. There we go. So again, Appendix C of the GMB guidelines to register an EIA requires the presentation and informing of the local authority, so in this case, the municipality. And again, the project is on town-owned land and has previously been discussed in closed session, which is permitted pursuant to Section 68(1)B of the Local Governance Act, given it has been related to land. In terms of project description, so it's the proposed undertaking consists of the development on a 28-acre parcel of town-owned land. There's a maximum yield of approximately 85 units. The town has a proposed project that will entail for-purpose housing that will address various housing goals within the community, and we've been working in partnership with the Housing Hub of New Brunswick throughout the process to explore feasibility. Just to situate a little bit more, the map on the left shows a spread out aerial view. You can see the existing Sunrise and Twilight subdivision that come off of Fredericton Road. You can also see McWilliam Road, which enters into the Hilltop subdivision with the other blue location dot. To the right, you can see the existing, again, Hilltop subdivision. And then at the top of the image, you can see the proposed undertaking site, which is that 28-acre parcel of land. This is an outdated aerial image, but you can see the cleared area there that the municipality used to clear every few years. If you look on the right, you can see what that looks like as of last month, August, if not late July. But you can see in red, it shows Fredericton Road, yellow or orange being Sunrise, and green being a portion of Karen Court. You can see off of Karen Court, off the green, you can see there's a dirt access road, which is the road the town constructed as part of the well drilling, which we will get to. But essentially, you can see the two cleared or partially cleared since brushed or revegetated to a certain degree. You can see those two lines that are essentially the property lines of the proposed site. There's more aerial photos there. The one on the left, again, you can see the access road coming off of Karen Court, essentially in the middle of the image. And on the right, you can see the existing Sunrise and Twilight subdivision coming off of Fredericton Road. So the the province has a number of different triggers, they call them, that are outlined in provincial legislation or specifically a regulation that outlines a number of different projects or proposed undertakings that can trigger an environmental impact assessment. This, as part of the pre-screening, trigger 2. So one is subsection S, which is any project that has waterworks with a greater capacity than 50 cubic meters of water daily. If the town were to phase this project as an example, we would still need to quantify the total overall amount, which we exceeded, and therefore it triggered an EIA. The second one is with respect to projects that affect, so whether disturbed or not, more than 2 hectares of wetland. So as we go through, some of our mitigation pieces do include measures that will limit the amount of wetland impacted, but where it is the key word is affected and not necessarily disturbed, that means that it is also subject to the act. So in terms of environmental features on the site, the town's been exploring feasibility of development on this site since 2023. It's been slowed because of some of these environmental factors, additional reports and studies that have had to be undertaken. Essentially, properties on the northern part of Sunrise currently experience drainage issues, mostly due to runoff from Fredericton Road. This project would, in essence, try to mitigate that as well as part of the stormwater management plan of the proposed development. It also, I would say one of, if not the most important components, is that it provides a permanent solution to the one exit entrance to the Hilltop subdivision that we have today. In 2017, the road, McWilliam Road, was raised, but the report that explored different options at that time, including constructing the second road, did note that it's not necessarily a permanent solution, and that a second access at some point is still recommended. And ultimately, at the time, there was funding available through a federal program that the municipality acquired. The estimated water consumption based on provincial calculations, this includes assumptions because you have to quantify the number of bedrooms, but this exercise was undertaken in partnership with Stantec and with the Housing Hub for the sake of illustrating an example, but is just shy of 80,000 liters per day. And then 3 test wells have been drilled. The median well yield in the 1 kilometer radius is about 36 liters a minute, or 8 imperial gallons. All the test wells, according to the well driller's report, exceed this median, and our pump test report is expected in the coming weeks. So the well driller gives a yield based on that current day when they drill the well, but the sustainable yield is what the hydrologists look at in terms of how long can that yield or that flow be sustained without impacting other wells. Other environmental features is the elements that, one of the elements that led us to this, but there was an identification of an unmapped watercourse as part of the wetland delineation. It's about 700 meters from the closest main water source. And that word, anthropogenic, that's my best guess, basically means man-made. So the unmapped watercourse that's there has formed over time, but is not directly connected to existing watercourses, which means there's less restrictions, but nonetheless had to be mapped, and site visits had to be made on a couple of occasions. The Atlantic Canada Conservation Data Center shows no rare or endangered flora or fauna in the immediate project site. If you look in the detailed EIA undertaking registration, you'll see a number of them within a 5-kilometer radius. Most of those actually exist on town-owned wetlands, so at the Highland Park and near wastewater treatment plant. A bird survey was also undertaken where it's a vegetated site. That was undertaken in June and technically July, the first day. And identified 3 species of migratory birds, mostly either off-site or just on the property boundaries. And that report includes mitigation measures, which really will mostly affect the timeline of clearing of the site. The big one again, if you remember back to the triggers, 2 hectares of wetland can trigger an EIA. A total of 3.13 hectares of unmapped wetlands were delineated on site. After the proposed mitigation measures, there's an estimated disturbance of about 0.84 hectares. The mitigation measures primarily include naturalized setbacks and a proposed stormwater retention pond. In order to quantify those things, the town had our engineering consultants undertake what's called a functional assessment, which essentially looks at the species of plants that are on site and then proposes what the post-development scenario would be and essentially models what the functions of the wetland would be at that point. No federal, provincial, or locally recognized heritage and or built heritage resources are on the proposed site or in the immediate proximity, and the surrounding land use, as you can see from the images, is either residential or vacant land. So in terms of a timeline, as mentioned, we started this work in the fall of 2023, which consisted of our partnership with the Housing Hub and our application to RDC, which funded the majority of the work we've undertaken to date. We issued a survey in early 2024 on general kind of feedback with respect to housing to help inform some of the concept plans that we see today. The wetland interpretation letter ideally would have stopped there, but unfortunately there was a number of other steps that have been taken with respect to wetlands. So the delineation was done in July, that has to be done within certain timeframes. Which then led to a letter essentially for a concept plan on a stormwater management plan. And then there was an unmapped watercourse delineation and a habitat survey for that unmapped watercourse, functional assessment that we talked about, and our application to the province for our WASA study, which is the water supply source assessment. In April of this year, we had proposed costing prepared. We registered the EIA document in April. Within those months, there was a number of back and forths between the province and the town with respect to whether or not an EIA had to be registered. That included project descriptions, project summaries, and ultimately they made the decision to register. So we did that in April. By May, we had the first round of technical review comments, which was added to your council package today. There was a total of 44 in that first round. Not abnormal, but we did get them sent back in August. A couple of them had reports that needed to be done, including the bird surveys and the well drilling, which was done in June and July respectively. In August, we presented to council in closed session with the Housing Hub of New Brunswick, specifically related to feasibility. Later in August, we undertook the 72-hour pump test, and then at the very end of last month, we received the second round of comments from the technical review committee, which is only 8 questions, most of which are statements and not questions. So that was worthy of celebration when that came through. The proposed final product, or what this will entail in the end. So the town would construct the municipal infrastructure. So think everything between ditches and ditches. So that includes ditches in terms of drainage, sewer mains, lateral for the property, road base, and asphalt. The town would reserve certain lots for not-for-profit developers and for-purpose built housing, which includes targets for senior rentals, but also elements such as rent-to-own partnerships with providers that may be interested in doing that type of model. The Housing Hub being one of them who may be interested. The town would issue an expression of interest this fall for the market homes. So those are for developers who would like to construct on ready-to-build lots. As mentioned, there will be a 0.83 hectare engineered retention pond to mitigate wetland impacts and also assist with drainage. It will also assist with runoff and future development off of Fredericton Road, given the site being essentially in the middle of Fredericton Road as we know it today. And then, as a really one bullet summary of the presentation for Housing Hub, the feasibility indicates a payback for our investment in less than 5 years. So concept renderings, these are, again, I will stress concepts. So these are 3D models based on the proposed concept that was prepared earlier or late last year, early this year. based on the proposed development yield. These are subject to change, but are intended just to essentially show some of the modeling that match some of our 3D, the 2D concepts we've presented and shown thus far. And the last one there, these are copy and paste housing types, so are not necessarily reflective of what you will see, but are intended to show the look and feel of the space of the subdivision based on the layout that we've proposed. So public consultation. So under the Act and its regulations, there's a mandated or legislated, I should say, requirement to consult with MTI, which is essentially the governing body of all of the First Nations in New Brunswick. We met with MTI in May of 2025. We had a number of back and forth with them. We're still waiting for the formal, what we call screen out, but we stopped basically at, I think it's phase 2 out of 12. So depending on the circumstances of the project and the potential impact on land rights, they can also undertake their own essentially EIA consultation process in tandem, which is not required in this case. A number of pieces will start after today's presentations. That includes the council presentation tonight, posting in various print items that include the provincial paper that's required under the guidelines, and then 2 local items in print, which is the News and Views and Riverview paper. We also, similar to presenting to provincial or municipal elected officials, have to inform elected officials at other levels of government, most of which have already been briefed on the project, but we'll get a formal, we are initiating consultation as part of the EIA process email. The public webpage and public communication plan will start rolling out this week as well. And then in lieu of a specific open house on this project, we're offering one-on-one meetings, but we'll also have some information at Harvest Fest later this month as well. So most importantly, as mentioned and as highlighted, this essentially kickstarts the start of the public consultation process. This is specific to the environmental impacts and the proposed environmental mitigation factors. So we fully expect to have questions, concerns, comments, feedback in terms of the type of housing, the development near existing neighborhoods. Most of those questions will be deferred to future phases of public consultation. So if the town is successful in receiving funding, there will be zoning change requirements that will need to be undertaken, which also involves legislative public consultation. So while we're happy to hear those comments now, residents will not necessarily see their comments in our What We Heard report that has to be submitted to the province as part of this project. But printed copies of the town's registration document will be made available here at the library or online. Comments can be provided in writing to either myself in this case, but also to Diane essentially, but our contact for the EIA has to be the person who submitted it. Again, requesting in-person meetings are options, is an option for residents who want to express concerns. And then we're proposing that feedback be collected until the end of October. So there's a certain time frame that needs to happen between any pop-up session, open house, what have you, which is Harvest Fest, and the period of closing of comments. So that brings us to almost the end of October, so it's just easier to push it to the very end of the month, which is around we want to issue the expression of interest for developers anyways. So with that, the next steps pretty much are highlighted. So we have to submit our funding applications, finalize our hydrological report, submit the responses to those short questions. There's another funding application we have to prepare. We want to undertake geotechnical before the snow falls, the expression of interest that we mentioned, and then again, the final project is contingent on a number of factors. So funding, rezoning, the EIA process being in our favor. We don't expect anything to the contrary as of now. And then of course, interest amongst developers and community partners who will put shovels in the ground. So with all of that, available for any questions or comments that council may have before we start the public consultation process this week.
So have the residents in the local area there already been engaged, or will they be engaged with the public consultation?
Mostly with this. So as part of what will come out in that communication plan, anyone within 500 meters will get a letter from the town in the mail. So those will be mailed out this week. But the residents in the immediate neighborhood would have gotten notice with the well drillers. So we issued notices there, hand delivered ones on 2 occasions for the well drilling and the pump test. And then a number of them were made familiar when we did the consultation in 2024 in April, I think it was. But nothing with respect to the concept plan of the subdivision.
What will it need to be zoned to? Village center
No, Village Center wouldn't work in that one. There's a section of the community planning act called an integrated development zone, which can allow basically a project specific site with certain parameters. So the planners have to be in support of that. Has to be a number of things. It's different in this case where we're a public body where we undertake all of these reports on the front end. So we can say this is the impact, this is the final product. We would have letters of intent basically with all the sites, figure it will go there. So it could be a contender for that, or it could be a text amendment. So none of these are having high density housing. So there's also the option for text amendments in certain circumstances as well. So those conversations are ongoing with Plan 360.
The list of questions and comments from the TRC.
Yeah.
And as well as from 2023. Are all of those gonna be posted on the, so
Yeah.
that people can access it?
Yeah, so the full document has been posted, but I was under the impression until last week when I asked, and glad that I did for that reason, that they also posted the TRC comments. They provide them if they're asked, but they don't proactively like post them with the project registration. So we will do that on our project webpage.
Just out of curiosity, that wetland and stormwater area, can you do nothing at all with that other than just leave it as a wetland, or can you put like a picnic table beside some of it or something?
Yeah, good question. You definitely can't develop it because it'll be, the wetland now is just, I've always been saying it's not necessarily wetlands, it's wet land. Like it's just land that has those characteristics.
I
So
understand, but like you have a walking trail around a wetland.
there may be, the province will have to sign off on that as part of them giving the determination. We have to provide, or we'll have to provide eventually a monitoring plan. So they won't allow anything that will change.
So an access road around it to monitor.
Yeah, it will definitely have to be a path, not a road, but we'll have to maintain it.
Fair enough. That was past,
Yeah, there needs to be access for sure, so,
It just seems like this is the time to do those
Propose that, yeah.
considerations, if you're gonna be in there with equipment anyway.
the whole site is not like an excavated
No,
pond, so there is space for that, and even like on the buffers of what's shown in the concept plan as a naturalized setback, so there's definitely options for that, yeah. Which people in the subdivision would enjoy, so, yeah.
Also, which attachment has the recent questions? I don't know if I see.
They were just added today, I think, yeah, so the first one has the questions and the responses. And the second one just has the questions, unless I forgot to send both, I may have forgotten to send both. The second one is mostly with respect to wetlands and the province stating certain things they need to see, so they want to see certain drafts and so on and so forth. Nothing that requires any additional engineering reports, which is that was the relief part that was a bit worthy of celebration. We got that last week, but all circulated in case I forgot to send it this morning. Yeah. I only got the PDF today, so I may have forgotten.
Are we, did we get a response from MTI yet, or are they?
We had the verbal response from them when we met with them, and then in an email too, but technically that written email doesn't, like, it needs to be on MTI letterhead, and they have a number of EIA processes that they have to undergo, so the province has not even carried forward that question from the TRC response, so for all intents and purposes, yes, we have a response, but we still need that for files, basically, yeah. We met with them in May after they reviewed the project, so we only met it on virtually once, but they had time to go through the project, and then the session in May was for them to ask us questions, so they had no concerns raised to ask for to the department.
Additional questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 6.2, presentation, new CRM tool.
So this is another presentation for information for council, so earlier this year, we launched a CRM tool. So in the private sector, it's called a customer relationship manager. And in our case, it's citizen relationship manager. And this is just a presentation now that we're becoming a little bit more accustomed to it, to give you an idea of what we're using internally. So again, in early 2025, we began rolling this out. Staff were trained in late 2024, but it really wasn't used until earlier this calendar year, and then is just now starting to become second nature for our crew internally. So that has become a priority throughout the summer. Our crew is probably going to get sick and tired of hearing me talk about it internally, which is a good sign. That means that it will become second nature, and then I'll stop talking about it all the time. But for context, we use Service New Brunswick's tax roll database. So it includes all of our property owners in the town limits, which means that if you're a renter, as an example, it doesn't mean you're not in the CRM. It just means that you're added manually when a case or a work order is opened or created. But it does give us something to start with. And the essence of it is that it creates assigns and provides follow-ups on everything from complaints, work orders, applications, so grants, our TIPA applications, everything under the sun, and general citizen issues. So as an example, there's some that are in there that we consider closed but are held for budget deliberations, basically. So items that require capital planning or longer term investments. And then it aligns with our strategic plan priorities of digitizing municipal records and being an engaged, accessible, and informative local government. These are examples, oh, that's the same slide, sorry. These are examples of different screens or screen grabs that are available that remove any identifiable information. So it doesn't look exactly like this. I kind of added my own little words or screenshots to hide any identifiable information, but you wouldn't be able to tell the difference if you were in there. But this is essentially the dashboard with more permissions than everyone may see, and more permissions than you would see on the mobile version, but basically just gives an overview of a number of different pieces. So you can see cases open, cases overdue, due past, who's assigned to what the different categories are, and then you can scroll down, you can see it cut off because there's too much identifiable information for me to make fake edits to, but you can scroll down through the list there to see them at more of a summary level. It gives us a lot of different information and data. So all of these on the dashboard themselves are dynamic. So you can scroll over them and click. And if you click whatever the red option is, it brings you to the cases in those categories. It gives you different cases by volume, month over month. You can do day over day, department by department, assignee by assignee, so on and so forth, depending on what you're looking for. This is a piece that shows, it's essentially a heat map that shows areas of particular cases. I zoomed out very far, so it looks like residents in the town of Riverview and city of Moncton are coming to us. That's not the case. It's just because of how zoomed out I am to try and show different colors. The reason that the former village is so red as well is because anytime where we don't have a contact, whether that's a phone or email, we assign it to this address. So 56 Douglas, if there's no site to assign it to otherwise. So this is an actual case where I removed some identifiable information, but was an instance of one of our public works crew was approached when they were mowing, so doing something unrelated to address basically overgrowth of brush near a street sign. The case was entered and closed, in this case the same day, but I wanted to show one that was open, entered, closed, resolved later. But you can see when you're in there, we can assign and change different people to assign it to. You can see the map, you can see the notes, you can export it, so on and so forth. This is some examples of what we can see when cases are created. So on the left, that would be a case report that's opened and closed when we print out basically the case history. So on occasions, we've used that if there's either something that needs to be filed or something that we want to house elsewhere. In terms of a record of the case, it gives us all of the information that we need and the notes and attachments that have been added to that particular case. And on the right, every time that a case is opened and it's assigned to someone, then it gets submitted via email. in this case, this is one that was assigned to me. Again, personal information removed. In this case, this is one that has other attachments, but if it was something that needed to be actioned or was actioned, I can respond to that email and it will update the case as well. There's a number of features there that make it user friendly. We're still getting used to some of them and learning some of them as we go. So as one example of how it can pull some of that information, we had a resident, I would say, complaint or concern on a specific issue that was submitted. A case was opened. That person's email and the initial email address and the initial concern was included in the case file. That resident then emailed later on and got a response from the mayor, and the system knew automatically that it was that case and just updated it with a note. So it's helpful in those cases just to make sure that all of those pieces are being updated. And in terms of next steps, so again, we're just getting used to it. I would say more and more, but there are some other pieces that we are going to start rolling out. So one of them include basically an online form that is just what we will call, or what it's called, the report and issue form that will automatically integrate with the CRM system. We'll again kind of start using that on a soft launch basis, and part of that is that our trail signs that are on order include a QR code that essentially says report maintenance issues on the trail that leads to that specific form. We're exploring an updated phone system, and there's integrations with certain systems, and the CRM system itself has what's called an open API, so it can pretty much connect to anything. So we're looking at options to explore that. Certain phone systems have their own; it may not be worthwhile, but we can sometimes export either phone call recordings or message recordings to start cases as well. We're in the initial stages of that. We had a meeting last week on integrating it with Facebook for messages. So this isn't a feature, as an example of kind of their ongoing development as a platform or software. It's not a feature they have, but they've been looking to try testing it. So we'll probably be their guinea pig, depending on how that is set up. Again, we need to continue forcing Access E11. That's a bit of a strong word, but encouraging Access E11 to be second nature for our crew internally. Yeah, is it?
Is that the right word?
It's probably the right word. Yeah, it's still aggressive, but for the sake of a positive presentation, we're encouraging. We'll also be able to start pushing out a little bit more now that we know it works. There's an internal email that staff can use and that council can use. The mayor's been our guinea pig in this one, where some have been created essentially just by BCCing that email, and it will pull the information and create a case. And then obviously, as we mentioned, we're in the initial stages now of figuring out what, how, and when and why we do the reports from Access E11. So there's automated reports and there's manual ones as well, but there's obviously some room there to be able to provide those to council for information purposes, whether that's through the WAG, monthly or quarterly at committee of the whole. I don't know what else, that's why I put et cetera, but open to those discussions as we continue to roll out the platform. And if no suggestions this evening, then happy to welcome some as we continue to use it more and might test out some of the reports ourselves, but we're just getting started diving into those now. So with that, any questions or discussion?
I have a question.
While you ask, I'm gonna grab a washer, sorry.
I think I have a question mark here, but I think based on your last slide, I think it'd be great to have some sort of a dashboard stewardship on our website for anything that's like concerning the majority of our community. Not with information, but maybe, number of cases, number of times.
Okay.
Reported, number of times people needed tree cutting on DTI roads, those kinds of things. I think it's great. They're kind of, that's who we need to steward some of this too.
Yeah.
And it would show what kinds of things people can call for, especially the stuff that we want people to call for, so we can capture this stuff. And I also think it would be good, I know in other customer services organizations, which I know it's not what we are, but it is what we are. Using this for like quality control, performance stuff, like having regular reviews of how people are handling cases and responding, and I think that would be really good.
Yes. On your first one, I don't have an immediate answer, but yes, good idea, I would say. I know there's features in the tool that can pull that information. we're definitely not there yet.
Well, it doesn't be our name.
Yeah, could be the end of the, yeah, once a month or something, yes, yeah,
For now.
definitely an option,
I think your CMP report.
yeah, similar, yes,
Just a dashboard.
yeah, very similar.
What's event, what's closed?
Oh, it's just great advertising for what the town is doing, so people can
Yes.
point and say, well, what are you guys
Yes.
doing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there you go, no, I do like that.
Include a month glance in the, monthly newsletter. Something.
Good point, actually.
Yeah.
Good to showcase what's been.
Yeah.
This is the activity the office is seeing.
Okay, good point. Leave that with us, because there's, yeah, those are two, good options, and, I already forget your second one. Oh, quality control, yes, sorry, thank you. Yeah, there's different features with that too, so one of them is, something that we're still playing around with, so you can set each case category to have default due dates, basically, so. Yeah, so some things, like if we say we'll fix that within 24 hours, then you could set it like that. They're all the same right now. So if you look, there's a whole bunch that would say overdue.
There's 32. This-
Yeah, so like, I know there's, I think 11 in mind that are overdue, but it's the residential incentive program that take.
I'm used to reading a service report.
Yeah, see, there you go. So you look for that, so. Those all need to be tweaked, and we're in the midst of finalizing service levels, which will help with that, and then we can change those in Access to Win1 and see what those will look like, and we're still, even now, just to say, like, where we're testing, we're still figuring out the best way to assign specific people. So in Public Works is an example, like, who does it go to first and when,
Yeah.
and what has to be filtered versus what doesn't, what goes to Trevor versus what could go to his crew automatically. So those are some of the conversations we're having, and then we can finesse some of those pieces, because yeah, those features are all there. We're just not
And
there.
if we end up in that situation where we've got like our service level offers or expectations in all different things, and it's something we're promoting to our residents, then we can have that as part of that grants, right? We've had this many cases, these many were closed within this period. Like, there's also a reason, I'm sure there's other fields you can use for like, whether it was within reason or not, it's a past due, right? 'Cause
You can also escalate them, and yeah, there's a whole bunch of different things, and that's why we're still, I haven't even gone in those to change those, like, that's what I mean, they're all, I think, due in 10 business days or something, just because that's a default one, so, there'd be a number of them that would change, so I'm not even sure if it's 10 business days.
I think it'd be very complimentary, the two things.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Another question is, on property, you said that you included all property owners of the town. Is it of the town or is it of the former village?
No, and updated like every couple months, like every month we get, what's that called?
They're not quite updated, but yeah.
Yeah, but what is that report?
Monthly address change.
Yeah, so
name change.
every month we get a report from the services project. Some month there's 10, some month there's none, some months there's 5, like it changes totally month to month, but that's why it does need to be updated every month. So we'll keep on top of that as it changes and as properties change hands and whatnot. But the main piece is that if someone is a renter or business even, like we've created cases or created contacts, they're called, specific to businesses or organizations, because they could be registered as a numbered company or could be renting a space, like, but the tax roll is for the whole town. Yeah, so there's lots of contacts in there.
But the best part is the historical footprint is great. So I love the fact that, again, I'm using it, but I don't reply to anyone in this community without tagging in that system. So staff know immediately if I've responded to something or I've responded. In many cases, it's referring to them to do something, but that way that record is there and tracked and great.
So having said that, I guess we're all getting emails coming into our general counselor emails. Like, is there a general box that we should be?
Yes, there is, but I'm not gonna say it now, I'm gonna send it after.
Okay, no, that's fine.
But there is, and then, all you do is BCC that.
You don't have to elaborate.
I've been the guinea pig, as they
Okay.
said, so
Okay,
once they're ready, they'll provide you.
perfect.
Also, some of these annual updating things are happening. There's like middlewares that you can just upload, put them in automatically for you.
I'm concerned with doing a tax roll, I'm always worried about the data that's there, because there's more data than what we input, but yeah, there is ways.
Look into it, if it's a
There's-
box system, then it's.
Could be, yeah, it could be useful. There's so few, I would say, that it's not labor intensive yet. If there's months or there's like 200, okay, well, that might be it.
It's more about catching up.
Yeah,
When you first install it.
yeah, yes, yeah, because we did the tax roll last year technically. Yeah, when we uploaded that, when we were playing around with that. So yeah, there's definitely options to automate pretty much everything.
So how is it working from a staff perspective? Are they frustrated with it? Are they finding it's tedious and driving them crazy? Is it something they see the benefit to, that the information is more organized and keeps them on task? Like, what, do you have any testimonials, I guess?
A bit of all of that. I would say they're not frustrated at it, they're probably annoyed with me talking about it so much. So that's the honest assumption, but I think like anything that's new, there's a process for people to get used to it. So I don't know if Diane, that reflects it. I think people see the value in it, but aren't there in terms of,
Everybody sees the value in it.
yeah.
It's just every once in a while, when you go to do something, you forget to put it in and you get the, is that an accessibility limit? So it's just, yeah, it's now one of those things in the back of all of our heads that don't forget to put it in accessibility. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But everybody understands that it will be worth it in the end. It's just a lot of work to get used to doing it. And so you take a phone call, you're putting it in, you're doing this, you're doing that. It just makes everything a little bit more work.
And the more like, we didn't know, you go back to that example of when it pulled that information automatically, we didn't know that was a thing, like that just happened. And I was like, wait a minute, how did that get in there? And so when we realize those tips and tricks, it will be helpful. There's already been cases where, we've had multiple cases with specific properties or sites we've been able to use. It was helpful during the WM32 closure, so all of those were logged in Access C11, and during the WAG, when we were giving council updates, we've had this many traffic count, this many calls, that was coming directly from Access C11. It was, I don't know if it was on the screen, and I think I removed it, but that was one of my icons that I set for that time. I just filtered it to show at any given time when I'm on the dashboard, show me all cases that are open for WM32. So that's helpful for those types of things too. So more and more as those hot topic issues come up, that will be helpful. If I think of rezoning or controversial rezonings, it will be very helpful for us to record that information, because sometimes it's coming to elected officials, sometimes it's going to Diane, sometimes it's coming to us, sometimes it's coming via email. Like we're trying to record things on Facebook, like it's a bit chaotic. So I think we'll continue to see value in it, but it's definitely needed to adjust.
Capture data and.
Yeah.
You can get the data out of it. It's
So
pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, last week I noticed, so there was one that came in that I put in, then he or she called again, someone else, and then he or she called again, somebody else, so about 4 emails, phone calls from the same person, the same answer. Like, this way we could, it's in there, you go look and it's all been in there. It's been-
So would it track it, just a question on how to track it, so if you had 3 people entering 3 different, questions, or complaints, or whatever it is you're calling it, does it track it by the property? Like, how are do they get a number? Like, how does it assign? So, okay. And is it associated to that particular job, or?
It
You
depends.
know what I mean? I'm just trying to see how how it accumulates the
What the
data for
number
that
of
one,
cases.
yeah.
It depends on what it is. There's options, and we're in the midst of finalizing like our internal basically process for those types of like housekeeping things. So we call Tracy the guru for Access C11. So she's the one that uses that data. She's the one that merges contacts. And so if, let's say, all of those cases were assigned to someone in a specific department, they don't have the option to add to the case if they're not assigned to it. But anyone with administrator permissions can see that this is all the same case, and there's an option to just merge them, to just select them and merge. So in the end, they'd be merged. There might be a couple days or a couple weeks where they're separate ones, but they can eventually be merged. That's similar to the conversation or why the platform wants us to be a guinea pig for Facebook, because if it pulls messages, after how long does it become, you have to make an assumption. Is it after 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 months that you open a new case, or could someone be following up on the same? Like, so that's part of the conversation with a number of pieces, but what we would do is just merge the cases, that all the notes are there. Unless it's a resident that comes repeatedly on like different instances where we could consider something open and closed, but for the most part, they would just be updated as notes. In that case, I think I know what you're talking about, and someone was on vacation, so the person was trying to call every single other person that
And then we
worked.
all
with them.
found out that.
Yeah.
We all got the
Yeah,
same question and,
yeah.
yeah.
So then it's logged in that for when that lucky person comes back from vacation and sees that someone really wants to talk to them. So, yeah. Yeah.
This email address allows it to auto integrate. Is it not, like, if we not just update our contact email, general contact email, on our websites and stuff, so that it just sends it to that email?
You can, but the problem is, in this case, it would be like the info email, which gets so much like newsletters and marketing pieces, so we.
Well, I mean, update the background, like, you can have the email look like our normal email address, but in the background of the
It's
website.
like have an alias of
that,
some
like,
sort.
whatever, it's
Yeah.
like, it translates it to, it's like having a hyperlink and then changing the name, right?
But it would still take all the incoming mail that would go there, so in this case,
This other email. The other email, not the info, because right now you have an info, right?
right,
Forget the info.
okay,
On Facebook, it shows info.
yeah,
So if people want to type in info, they can. If they click the button to
Yeah.
email, it puts in this other email address that goes into,
but what about all the pieces, the things that already go to info, that aren't cases?
it's not.
They've actually got info.
You just mean the
The link. The link on Facebook.
so just the link?
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, that could be an option,
Contact us doesn't need to be crazy on our.
Yeah.
On our website.
Yeah.
It can just be like, send us an email to
Yeah.
contact us to.
and goes there.
And goes straight into.
Yeah, it's an option, and we talked about that on the initial pieces, they did say that it's hard to filter, like you get more, like basically spam, like you have to then put in like, similar to we have like our anti-spam parameters for Salisbury MB domain emails, you basically have to do those same things for those emails, so it is possible, some places do it, but,
Consider.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
I'd
yeah.
rather spam it, or, yeah, you could pull a report to identify the spam and remove it, than
And
have
take-
everybody.
Yeah.
Remember to enter stuff.
Yeah,
It's been fun.
Yeah, the main piece is that you would still have to enter it if you were, because the intent of that email is to put basically like, if you're responding to someone that emails Sarah Caldwell, the counselor,
That's right.
directly to you, but it's something that you want to make sure that we open a case for, you can BCC that email in your response, it'll open the case automatically, so, there's still options for the email pieces for on Facebook in that example.
Auto websites, right? If you know, if somebody has a question
Yeah,
or complaint in their subject or urgent.
yes, it does pull some of those things, specifically with the timing, so with things like the due dates and stuff it can pull. It will also try, although I think we had that feature off, until we figured out our cases, but it will also try to categorize based on content of the email, which is, I think, just like an AI filter, I would assume, based on the words, I don't know how that works, but yeah, there is a feature there that, but I'm pretty sure we have it turned off. I think anything that gets added to that email is just tagged miscellaneous, and it's filtered after, but yeah, there's lots of different pieces that will continue to.
We want to make it easy for staff, right?
Yes.
They're
Yeah.
kind
The
of
easier-
not using it.
The easier, the more second nature.
Yeah.
So if we're conversing with somebody through email, we BCC the email address, it creates a case.
Case, yeah.
I'm assuming somebody gets a notification of that.
So if, without that, yeah, so without that category, it goes to Tracy. And, like Diane, Tracy and I can see all of the cases that are created. There's also then functions that you can go in and mark things as confidential, mark them for, if they need to go to certain people. And that's part of the reason that I'm not comfortable with that AI filter yet, because it could get tagged to someone else, but not be related to them and have confidential information, as an example, right? But yeah, so when in doubt, it goes to the guru, so that automatic email included, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Any additional questions?
Very good job.
Glad to see it.
All right, now moving on to item number 7, reports and recommendations from committees and private meetings. I'm having our stay within the end of the room.
Oh, we close the door?
Yes.
No.
Okay,
And pass it over to our clerk.
so background information, during a closed session, that's long. of the August 11th, 2025 regular council meeting pursuant to section 68(1)J of the Local Governance Act. Council discussed the draft annual performance evaluation of the chief administrative officer. The town utilizes the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators, or the CAMA template, for an annual CAO evaluation process. Following input and deliberation from council, the evaluation forms were completed and have been reviewed by the CAO and the mayor. The review is considered complete and will be signed and filed and placed in the CAO's personal file if council so chooses to go with the recommendation to approve the 2025 annual performance evaluation of the CAO.
Start with the motion.
I move that council approve the 2025 annual performance evaluation of the CAO and authorize the clerk to sign and file the evaluation in the personal file.
By Councillor Manster, second by Councillor Colwell. Sorry. Questions to the motion? See no questions to the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. And so.
Sign that and put it in the file, and yeah.
I see the bottom special for a little bit.
Yeah, let them swim for a little bit. Let's wait till the meeting's over.
Oh, no, he's got
Oh, yeah, he's got to leave.
He's got a long list of stuff to go through. But I think he purposely didn't leave that till the end.
Yeah, he did, is that right? Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 8, reports from administration. Item 8.1, provincial small highway partnerships PMHP program 2027 through 2030 plan.
So I think there are changes to, the date is wrong.
Date, I believe, Trevor pointed out, the date is wrong on the PMHP program. It's 2029, not 2028, 2030.
No, 2029, not 2030. That's right, Trevor?
2029 to 2030, close to 2020 to 2030.
Trevor?
But it's listed 2020.
No, 2020, it's 2027 to 2029, not 27 to 2030, I think. Is that right, Trevor?
We got a whole bunch of different dates.
On the agenda, it says 2027 to 2030, and it should be 2028 to 2030, and then,
The report in the back is just 2020 to 20.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
the reports.
and then there are a couple pages in there that are the wrong ones for the priorities, specifically 2029 and 2030. They should have been flipped. So
So it should be, which ones did we flip again? I remember having this conversation, don't remember which one we switched.
well, if you look in the funding summary down at the bottom, you'll see in the Excel spreadsheet on that.
That's the correct one?
That's correct there. It's just the pages that the town has to sign off on 2029s and 2030s. The information's wrong.
Okay, we can change those, as long as, it's just the projects that swap years, is that right?
Yeah, and the information got messed up somehow, unfortunately. So,
Okay, so to make sure, it's just opening here, I'm trying to, there, okay. Okay, so the information that we need to know that changes is the 2020. So 2028 stays Route
The
112,
same.
Frederick Road stays 1, okay.
yeah,
2029 becomes,
that's Main Street.
okay, so that's in the document, that's fine.
Yeah,
And
but if you
then-
look at the table, the amounts are wrong. That's what's wrong in the.
Oh, okay, so that's fine, okay, we can
Yeah.
change, we can change the amounts, and then the project for 2030 is still Route 112, Frederick Road Phase 2.
Yeah, that's correct, and it's got the wrong amount on it. They just need to be
Okay.
changed.
But the Excel sheet on page 8 of that document is correct.
That's correct.
Okay, perfect. Okay, sorry. With that, as a reminder, sorry, of the PMHP program, so it's the Provincial Municipal Highway Program. It's a partnership where the province pays for a certain share, in this case, 80%, and the municipality pays the remainder, so 20%. Usually we used to have to do it for 5 years. This is the first year that they've changed that to be 3 years. In terms of recent projects, last year we resurfaced a part of Route 106 or Main Street. This year we were supposed to do the same, but reallocated that towards the culvert at Reader Road and Main Street. And then this particular plan for the next 3 years is in alignment with our capital plan, with the exception that we did swap project 2 and project 3. So project 1 being extension of sidewalk and storm on Fredericton Road up to Ray Drive. Project 2 continuing resurfacing on Main Street of Route 106, and then project 3 continuing the extension of storm and sidewalk on Fredericton Road. So the primary reason for pushing that is based on funding and based on the amounts that we have to contribute to projects in our capital plan. This report or request to the province has to be completed before the end of September, and then they generally will take a little while to get back to us. Council might recall also, we were supposed to have a project already for 2027. That was the extension of sidewalk and storm on River Road, but they gave an exception, I guess, and are providing that funding for us to undertake the work next year in anticipation of the work on the P3D bridge to start the following year. So that is our project for 26. There is none in 27. We've got that confirmation. That's why these plans start looking at 2028. So with that, any questions on the project? Yes, this is her. Sorry.
I'll move that Salisbury Town Council direct staff to submit the 2028 through 2030 PMHP application to the New Brunswick Department of Transportation and Infrastructure.
So moved by Councilor Baxter, seconded by Councilor Gallant. Questions?
I have a question. A lot of questions today, I'm sorry. Not related to this, because I think these are necessary and very needed. I feel like personally would benefit from some sort of like a forecasted budget up to 2030 or something that would include all of our planned capital projects, our nice to haves, our wants, our wishes, and because we've been making some decisions lately for a lot of money, and the numbers are high.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. So we generally would do that as part of our budgeting process. So an updated capital plan we presented at October Committee of the Whole. Last year, we essentially adopted a 5-year capital plan through that. So there aren't any surprises on that. The names are vague intentionally because there's some things that we can't publish in that 5-year capital plan because there's domino effects with other infrastructure and projects that are not yet public knowledge, but that will be the case this October too. So some of the funding percentages sometimes change in this case, so those will be there, as will some of the other conversations that we've talked about that haven't been on there, and is also part of the reason that we're suggesting flipping those 2 projects, just because of the amount that we have in the next few years. But at the October Committee of the Whole meeting, there will be an updated 5-year capital plan, and then similar to last year, what we did was we presented the 5-year plan that has very conceptual forecasts on those 5 years, but as part of the budget, council will see a detailed plan for the next year. So including who the design consultants, if there is one for that project, the basis of our cost estimate. So if it's a formal engineered OPC, if we're using this year's costing, what have you, and some of the detailed project description. So it's not just a vague title, it gives kind of some more details for the following year. So
does it go
follow that same.
2030?
It will go 31 for that point, yeah.
Just maybe not, but as a nice to have, there might be an option for us to capture that and have it in our CRF form, like when we're talking about some of the.
For these cases, yeah, that's
Like,
fair,
here's what
yeah,
it looked like.
Yeah.
Over the next, overlaid with everything we've already
Yeah.
agreed to or planned for.
No, that's fair. This, I can say, does not change the
No,
capital plan.
yeah.
So we can,
It's not a brain thought for me,
Yeah.
it's just, these are important, I've never had.
Yeah.
Before that stuff, it's just, I think it'd be helpful, just as we're trying to think through all the things that we've agreed to or said we wanted to do.
Yeah.
Go through the year, not waiting for budget time.
Yeah, no, that's fair and noted. The reason we bring it forward at budget time is because that's when we get the firm details of what we're committing to the next year. Because already this year, we've probably changed that document at least 6 times. Like that 5-year plan, and every time we go in, we change the text to go from black to red to show when it's not yet ratified. So we ratified it at the December meeting, I think it was December 9th. I can't remember if at our August meeting, if we included a 5-year capital plan, I think we just included this year in it, so, yeah, so I don't think that we did the 5-year one, but noted on that, yeah. Yeah.
Large either.
Yeah, noted, yeah.
Additional questions?
Good to see them on paper. This project.
Still with that, additional questions, all in favor? Aye. Minded, motion carried. With that, moving on to item 8.2, favorite topic. I'm sure that Councilor Thorne just one, she's not here this evening. Item 8.2, sewer collection update, Ward 3.
So also as noted at our August meeting, we provided council an update on Q2 or Q2 financial projections that included projections for the utility. So the memo in council's package today includes basically the highlight from that memo with respect to utility payments. We mentioned at that meeting that week, a couple of days later, we had a meeting scheduled already to discuss collections and moving forward in the next step in that, which we generally start in the summertime. So the intent of this was at that meeting, we committed to coming back with a report on that. So since that last meeting, we undertook the initial collection effort. So just as a summary, as noted in the memo, that included 8 letters that were sent to properties that were essentially advising that they were proceeding to judgment. They either had payment plans and were breached, or had previous judgment warnings. One of those properties has been refinanced and therefore paid. No payment plans have been made other than that. This is also as of Wednesday of last week. So I was just gonna say there may be some more, but we're going as if the date of this memo. And I meant to check before and didn't know, of course, but that's a good thing that more may have come in. 18 letters were sent for the first stage of collection. This might seem high, but it's not abnormal. This is essentially properties that have not paid within 3 years. So that's 18 that are falling into that category. Essentially, that letter offers payment plan, provides a copy of the form, and invites them to contact us. One property has paid in full, 3 have made payment plans, and 2 of them were sold and were paid. And then that's also just a coincidence, but then the last one is we sent 7 letters with respect to properties that have been on the list for quite some time, which in the direction of council, or the intent of council, mentioned that we were exploring disconnection and or further collection services. One of those properties have made contact with the town. That piece is not abnormal, I would say either. Most of these properties have a number of judgments registered on the properties already. So the intent really as part of this was to bring some of the conceptual costs to council with respect to disconnecting. As council knows, our utility is not very well funded in terms of having a whole bunch of extra cash flow. So we are quite cautious. Council also remembers at our special council meeting, we just awarded a $40,000 pump. So there are expenses that are on the books that do leave us with limited flexibility in terms of not recommending going ahead and disconnecting all of these properties. You can recuperate the cost of disconnecting, reconnecting fees to do so, but you do that through the judgment process, which you can see the ones that would be disconnected already have a number of those in place. In consultation with the town solicitor, there is another option, which is through the Department of Justice and Public Safety. So they have a branch that basically does enforcement of money judgments. So through sheriff services with DJPS, There's fees with those, but in the grand scheme of some of them are what I would argue is worthwhile. Some of them are predictable, the other piece is 10% of funds that are recuperated, so you don't get guaranteed that you'll recuperate all the funds, because there might be other creditors, which we don't know, that might have to get the funds first, that could also be going through collections. We can see properties that have judgments and what the judgments are, but we don't see any that might otherwise be through correct collections. Things like mortgages always get first dibs, as an example, so there is no guarantee, and that 10% is a variable number that is a little bit hard to predict. But ultimately, at this point, we are recommending taking the properties that have existing judgments and starting that process through with Sheriff Services. They'll tell us whether or not collections are likely. So we're recommending doing that before we proceed with disconnections at this particular point. In the council package, you can see some conceptual costing, what we often refer to as OPCs. Trevor did those for us and are conceptual in nature. So the intent of that was not to give you an exact cost, because it's entirely unpredictable. The intent of that was to show you that they can vary significantly. The properties that are the cheapest to do are not necessarily the ones that owe the most. There's things like where you have to access it, whether or not we need traffic control, whether or not there's sidewalk removal and restoration. All of these things add costs and are obviously property dependent. And also there's always the risk of securing contractors to do it. It's not always the easiest thing to do, and not contractors' favorite things to do. So where there is an additional step in between, we are recommending doing that. And then, as you can see from some of the properties, once they're filed as judgments, which we do diligently, we get the money back when they do repay. It's just ideally we can recoup some of it in the meantime, and potentially through Sheriff Services at the direction of council. So with that, there's a recommendation, and then questions.
I'll move that council direct administration to engage the province of New Brunswick Sheriff Services for money judgment enforcement on properties as recommended. In the event that this does not result in additional collections, council directs staff to proceed with bringing forth a recommendation to formally disconnect properties. Council also directs administration to continue ongoing collection efforts in an attempt to reduce the number of delinquent accounts as presented.
Seconded.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Blinis, seconded by Councillor Dykstra. Questions to the motion?
Is there a reason why this can't be done in tandem, that you can do both at the same time, both judgment services and disconnection?
The cost piece there, so the challenge is that there's no guarantee of recuperating them. So like, even if we disconnect property A as an example, tomorrow, to have reconnection done, we would still probably have to collect through Sheriff Services. Based on, depending on, and the piece, that variable there is how much they may or may not owe to other people. There's a high likelihood that we'll recuperate some of the funds through Sheriff Services. So there's a worthwhile attempt trying that in isolation to see what properties, and they have more teeth than us if they refuse to cooperate.
No, fair enough, but you said there was potential up to 18 properties?
We wouldn't disconnect those yet. They have a ways to go before, like the properties that we discussed, that we mentioned disconnection or Sheriff Services have 3, 4, sometimes 6 judgments on it. So we don't do those every year. So one, I think, may have never paid a sewer bill, as an example. Like, these are the extreme cases.
That's why I say using judgment services in the vast majority, but making at least 1 or 2 an example of makes the most sense. May not be the most expensed or outdated of delinquent account, but definitely making it visible, show that it will happen to somebody who has not paid their bills.
100%. I think the other piece is that I think, based on the direction or kind of discussion, which was along those same lines of kind of setting that precedent, to set that precedent has to be visible, which means that you have sidewalk, traffic control, so you're getting into those costly ones. So council can certainly direct us to do that. There's hesitations from our end in terms of the sustainability of the utility account. That's our concern, because we can't, and I can't divulge the personal information here, for us to be able to recommend specific properties, because we can't talk about the specific addresses, obviously. But the ones that would check that box in terms of setting that precedent are not the ones that are on that lower amount, I'll put it that way, and or some of them are not accessible without a longer process to get there.
No, no, I understand that, but it's to say that we will do so. It is not just an idle threat. It has to be followed up by somebody getting disconnected.
Yeah, there is still follow-up, so in our notifications, we can say that we're, because we're not, like, that's the piece, is that we're saying that we want to try sheriff services, and if we don't hear back, that's a relatively quick process in terms of issuing those notices and starting that process with.
Yeah,
that's
but
what
if it's 3 months, then you're already into winter.
Yeah, I guess that was
Yeah.
my question to follow up on Councillor Extra, was this process, like, when would we expect to start to see results and could we go to a phase 2 on, because to Councillor Extra's point, once it gets to winter.
Yeah.
Can we still?
It gets more expensive again.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't do that another time. The piece, I should say, it's not a quick process, or it's not a long process, it's not a long process to get it to Justice of Public Safety. In terms of the examination process, I don't know, if I'm being honest. It depends on how many creditors they may owe.
I understand. I think getting it back to Councillor Extra's point, I mean, this is serious. This is, it's not fair to the taxpayers that are paying their bills.
100%.
And by that, I think to set the example of, yes, laterally doing this component, but even if we picked one house or one property, and again, we have to show we're serious on that, and we're not gonna ever.
It's all about credibility. And quite frankly, if one person doesn't pay, why should anyone? And that's what you're gonna get into. It's gonna be a lot more expensive when no one pays their sewer bill, because there's no repercussions.
Right.
But I guess how widely would people know that we've dug up somebody's?
Very widely, very quickly.
If it was on a public road, we have to announce that there was like a road destruction or something.
Yeah, but the town's not going to broadcast, we're disconnecting somebody's sewer.
Right.
It depends
Why
on
not?
the individual,
Why not?
whether they complain about, it's public influence.
Yeah,
We can't.
Good question.
There's a upcoming road construction due to sewer disconnection. You don't have to state.
Yeah, that's what we were
Yeah.
So, yeah, we get it.
It does concern me the amount of money it costs for this.
How costly?
Yeah.
How costly would it be moving forward to add shut-off valves?
You need water.
Can't
You need the water.
that for sure.
You
Yeah,
need
that's a
the
water thing.
But that's the beautiful part, when we actually have water, that we can do
So
it.
you can't have a shut-off valve like you do in your bathroom attached to your toilet? I mean, you
No.
there must be a way to do a shut-off valve on a sewer line.
It would literally be digging it.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking.
Oh, new,
I mean, before they put it in.
before, yeah.
Well, if you're gonna do that, you might as well just put the.
But you generally don't, 'cause you don't want that, we wouldn't want that to be a point of failure and back up somebody's sewer either, right?
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, I don't.
But there's lot
I don't know
liability.
what the options are, I'm just thinking if it costs $300 every time there's a new property, it's a lot better than dealing with this.
Well,
I don't-
it's generally, most places have water and sewer, and you just shut off the water and they can't use the sewer.
And telling you, there's gotta be.
I'm sure there's way, I don't know, Trevor, if you wanna jump in on that, and in the meantime, while I put you on the spot, and if that's possible or not. The challenge with that is, let's say it's a new development, by the time you're going to turn off, you're several years away, right? Like, if you have new development, then ideally, they'll pay their sewer bill, if they don't, it's year one.
Several years, that new development is not part of our water system, if we don't have water already, so I'm just thinking like
Yeah.
future thinking, right? Like, if the goal is that we're gonna have water, the water could be anywhere from 5, 7, 10 years. Those new developments we get now are not part of that
Right,
potentially,
potentially.
that rollout.
Yeah.
But we
Just
would
what
have
are
a
other
potential.
municipalities doing?
What's that?
What are other municipalities doing?
Very few do shut off if they don't have a water system. We asked that, I think, probably in 23, I wanna say. Some have, most of them are vacant properties, if they do. None of these are vacant properties, assuming that's the next question.
Have you
But-
guys sent this snapshot, like property 6 or 7, for instance? It's a lot of money, $25,000 to do a disconnect and reconnect.
Yeah.
Have you guys sent that snapshot to the owner saying, like, this is your last warning, this is the cost that you will
Be very.
be bearing, 150%,
Unless you make a payment.
unless you make a payment? The town has no choice but to proceed with this action. And this is 100% your responsibility.
But further to that point, because that is
We
valid.
have not. We haven't sent them.
Because I'm gonna tell you, if I was. the
Yeah, you got, yeah.
and I see that, my goodness, it could cost me $25,000 if I don't pay this bill.
Yeah. Plus,
To
yeah,
have it, and I'm gonna have the inconvenience of being cut off
yeah,
But-
and or reestablished.
But further to that point, even without bearing the cost, taking them to court for the cost with an actual lawsuit.
that's what judgments are.
Yeah.
But is there not an actual step beyond judgment to actual
Money
straight,
enforcement.
just straight, is
was
suit, civil
That's,
suit?
that's what, civil suit, it's the same thing, six one half dozen the other, when you do it with like, cause you have to do liens, so they're property specific.
Yeah.
That's registered in the property registry system, whatever that's called, so you have to go through the judgment process, so it's the exact same process as being sued in small claim court.
Therefore,
Yeah, that's exactly, yeah, you file it in small claim.
therefore, with those cost estimates, could you not file that as part of the judgment? That you get the money upfront for the disconnection?
No, because you only get the money when a property is sold or changes hands. So if, let's say someone has,
I don't understand, that makes no sense to me.
that's
That's
the way, yeah, that's what.
That's what a lien is, but
That's
this
what
is not,
judgment is.
I understand what a lien is in of itself, I'm saying, why can't you go to court for the funds that they have not provided?
Because then everybody would go to court for every hypothetical as soon as they invoice somebody. We've been going to court for 1,600 units every March when people don't pay, right? Like, you have to show, like, we have to give our lawyer the letters we've sent, the efforts that we've made. Then when it's filed, then we have it's a legislative process. You have to serve within X amount of time. It expires after X amount of time. If they don't respond in that certain amount of time, then you need to go back to small claims and file a default judgment. Or if they respond, they can either pay or withdraw your judgment. They can enter a payment plan. You can pause registering the judgment on the property. Like, there's all these scenarios that are all black and
The
white.
judgment as long as it does not come off until
Until it's released.
Being released, then they have to go release it.
Yeah.
Or it'll stay on. We've had people that that paid it off,
Yeah,
didn't register the release, go to do a remortgage.
try to sell
or
their house
something.
or, yeah.
They have to pay off that lien. Well, it's already paid off, so it's not a big a deal, but you have to.
So
That's
to
an issue much bigger than what we can
Yeah.
control. That's just how.
Phyllis's point though, couldn't that be part of the sheriff's services? It's like, because I assume they're going to go physically meet, like physically to these locations. They can take the information
Yeah, I
and
see.
share.
Yeah, potentially, because some of them may be examined, some of them may not be. So it depends on if, like, in this case, anybody can go to sheriff services for money adjustments. In this case, it's sewer that connects to a house, which is property. So we know that they own property. In other cases, sheriff services can do what they call an examination. So let's say this was just a bill for contractor services, and you have no idea what the person owns. Sheriff services can do that meeting with them to examine and say, what do you own for vehicles, for property, for investments, whatever, like all of these different assets. There's a whole bunch of options on the pages. So I don't know if they still do the examinations. They'll definitely be served, just like they are when we file judgments. So I would say, I don't know if they will, because for the sheriff services, we have to actually give printouts to show that we not only register the judgments and small claims, but that we registered the default judgments and they're registered on the property registry system for the province. Like, we have to show all of those printouts. But I would say we could include that in our correspondence to them.
You can
to say-
certify and stamp it with a town seal and make it look very official. And send it to them.
Yeah.
And also have it delivered in the
Yeah,
packing.
yes, yeah,
So when,
Yeah.
when,
This car.
yes, yeah, that's who certifies that.
so when you send, so when it's sent for judgment, it's there in judgment, it comes off of their invoice, is that correct? Or does it continue to show up on their invoices, money owed?
We have to open a new account that's just the judgment account, so they'll have two or
Okay.
three. So you have your judgment account, and your regular account, because it's two different interests.
Yeah.
And then as soon as this one's ready to be go for another judgment, you take it out of this one, make a new judgment one. That's why people have two or three or four. Because if they haven't paid and it's time to redo it, they put another judgment on, put another judgment, put another judgment on. The original one stays until it's ready to go again unless it's, and when you pay your judgments off first before you pay your. Right.
And then release them.
And then it's been paid.
So a property that has multiple judgments only has a regular bill and then a judgment bill with all of the judgments on it.
Several different.
They could have some, like one, I think
So
that's
so they'll get several different.
7 bills.
So we do a bill and it has invoice and then judgment account, judgment account, judgment account. The thing with the quotes of the pricing is it's, again, not entirely sure where everybody's sewer is, so he's,
Certain ones, yeah.
certain ones, he's basically just,
And there's cost in there for some, like for ones that aren't positive, and there's a number of factors to that, again, are property specific. So again, but also, it's an estimate for traffic control as an example, because that's one day. It would say by the looks of that, it's a lump sum amount. If it takes them 3 days to find the sewer main, then you're doing that times 3, right? Like, these are very
than you
conceptual.
think, is it?
Yes, yeah,
You're
entirely.
or you're ruining the road that
Yeah.
you need to now upgrade
Yeah.
the road that you just dug.
Plus hot permits are.
Hot permit for top of the right.
So, yes, these are very much conceptual. I can't stress that enough.
Maybe cheaper to buy back one.
You still have to.
You still, yeah, you can't, I did ask if we could do that. No, it's not, they're too deep, unfortunately, so, yeah.
The only other question I have is, I was, plead ignorance because I'm not familiar with this process in of itself, but with a tax sale, you have issues with not paying property tax, but they will sell your house.
Yeah.
Is this not in the same vein of not paying a government bill?
No.
They have more teeth. Yeah, they've got a lot more
And
teeth.
can we
So we
therefore,
could roll it in.
Yeah.
We've been talking about that for many years, just never
Yeah.
has happened
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
We
This
put
seems
that
like-
on UMMB's advocating agenda.
Yeah,
to,
could be.
Like I said, it was discussed many years ago, and we're not the only ones.
seems like this is a pretty straightforward thing that should be pretty straightforward to do, pay your bills or leave.
Yeah, and we were hopeful there was another review for a couple of properties in specific. And with those multiple judgments, but it's shared services.
This just seems ludicrous to me that this is not something that can be very straightforward, that you have something to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
On the positive side, if any of these properties go to tax sale, we'll get our money too, because they'll include that in the amount owing, because there's liens on it. So it'll be taxes plus liens. So technically it goes there, it's just we can't say, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, go to tax sale now.
No,
right?
no,
Can't
no,
promise
no.
it.
We'll get our money eventually, just how many years later possibly.
Right.
Well, and how badly is it tying our hands with our utility today? Because
well, there's that, but there's also how much is it tying up effort from staff, period.
Yeah.
Because this sounds like a nightmare to deal with.
Yeah, it's
For no big revenue, like.
And I can tell you, we're lucky that the legal bills are the legal bills that we get. Right now. Because, yeah, it could be a very different situation, and the bills alone would be the disconnect amount in many cases.
But I just go back and think about CRA trying to go after tax revenue. They have to spend more than sometimes they're going to collect to ensure that everyone pays.
Yeah.
And this is the same thing. Sometimes you do have to pay more.
The same principle does apply.
You have to ensure that everyone pays, period.
Question, last question. Futuristic, I'm in the future thoughts today, but, I should know this, but when somebody purchases a home, builds a home, brand new. Somebody purchases a home that's already existing.
Yeah.
What is the acknowledgement that they need to pay their sewer?
We get sewer, or what do you need?
Like, should we be putting some measurement in place that we visit new residents, have them sign that they're going to pay?
Depends on the one. So new residents, when they're buying the property, their lawyer has to get what's called a sewer certificate. So, they have to come to the office to basically ask if there's money owing.
Right.
So let's say that you're buying a house, and I own the house today, and I'm one of these people and I owe $1,000 on per sewer. Your lawyer will come to the town to say, we have a closing date of this on this property, please provide any outstanding utility bills. Then the town issues a letter saying that I owe $1,000. Your lawyer withholds that, and we get that money when the sale is done. And then other than that, there's processes through when the properties change hands, unless there's private sales, I guess there might be ways around it, but where there's disclosures that are done that says if it's on municipal water, municipal sewer. If you look on any MLS listing, you'll see this one of the options to say if it's private septic.
It's a single thing, just never heard of
Yeah.
it, so I'm just curious if there's something that, I know paper doesn't do much. It's just, if there's something that we put measurements in place that we could act on it differently or after.
It should be part of your statement from your lawyer.
It is.
Close.
So some people don't ever see, don't even
Yeah.
realize it, that they've paid a $10 certificate fee, got that certificate.
No, I understand the property fee. I'm just thinking like,
You know, but you're a
So if you
lawyer.
Purchase a house in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
Some people will retroactive, like if I've already paid my sewer bill for the year,
Property tax.
they'll reportion it out, so in your closing, you're paying up your portion of the year that you're living there for the utility.
100%.
So it's up to the town to disclose it, it's up to the lawyer, because you can't buy property without having it registered, the lawyer has to do that.
So is the mortgage paperwork binding in our case from a paying your services?
Then it needs to be anything binding,
But when
we
they-
can serve them regardless.
Yeah, but when they purchase a house, their sewer is billed at zero. They're gonna get their first bill at three.
Not all,
I'm just,
not all.
I'm trying to think through like the future, like if there's something we should be doing proactively for like a physical acknowledgement that.
So to her
Your
point, she
service.
bought it privately, so when the town gets the new ownership, notification.
Yeah,
Perhaps you could send out a letter indicating,
you
Welcome.
welcome.
Well, I'd be covered and get my own services and I have to sign
Yeah.
whatever I have to
Yeah.
do to get the new
Yeah.
service, right? Do an application credit, you
Yeah.
have to do a down payment, depending if you've had credit issues. I mean,
Yeah.
there's ways we can get down payments for things that people have judgments or prior judgments and other.
We wouldn't know if they have prior judgments, because we wouldn't get that information, but, you can't, what's that?
Sure.
Or, same, like, we wouldn't get, because with the house, when we know the house is already transferred, because we hear from the lawyer when the transaction's going through, you can't buy or sell a house with a lawyer involved. So it's on them,
Checks.
we
Why-
couldn't,
It's a fact.
With TransUnion, whatever.
when it's on their property registry system, it affects credit. Yeah, it shows as a, I forget what they call it. But the TransUnion or any of the like the credit bureau looks at the property registry system. That's why you need to, when you go to sheriff services, you need to give the printout to say, yes, this is on the property registry system, or else people could say, oh, I didn't know.
But forget about that even, like, I'm talking general credit,
Mhm.
like Rogers or,
Yeah.
any other utility provider.
Yeah.
Are we registering that with creditors, like with TransUnion or
The lien,
Creditfax?
the liens?
No, late payments.
Late
No.
payments?
Oh, late payments.
Like, this is what I'm saying, because.
All of it gets,
let me tell you,
I don't know how.
You can go, if they can't go get their credit cards or whatever, and this is affecting their credit, this is also a way that you may have some leverage, because, and I mean, you must have do you have a registration for credit?
No,
No.
so you can, because people have reached out before and asked if you want their credit services, then they will chase them instead of us chasing them.
Well,
that's not
it's
affecting-
That's not even what I'm saying.
Not saying, yeah.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that you then report
Yeah.
to TransUnion.
Yeah.
Trans Credit Union, XXXX owes this,
This
this,
and that.
this, and
Yeah.
this, and they are delinquent 1,350 days on this, and we have no cooperation, period. So what that does is that when they go and they try to get their internet hooked up, or their TV,
Cell
or
phone.
their
credit
cell
card.
phone, or credit card,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, guess what? They're not getting their credit because they've got a bill outstanding with Town of Salisbury
Much like
that
a
is
lien.
X.
Yeah.
And then it makes them, it gives a little bit more leverage to
Yeah.
push them to get rid of that, because.
Yeah.
We get them registered at, like, because that's the way I was thinking of as delinquent. So they show as delinquent when they're registered as liens, but not beforehand. So it generally takes 3 years, basically,
Yeah,
what
but
it is.
basically you have creditors.
Yeah,
You-
we can
you're
check-
providing-
we can check on
you're providing credit. You're providing credit, and you have, when you belong to a credit network, they are looking for that information. Okay, so you report that information monthly
So you're making their mortgage more expensive, all of their.
Yeah.
above.
I don't know how or if we can do that, but we can circle back on that.
Well, if you've had calls from these organizations trying to provide you a service, have
They're
you
just trying to
So
get,
we can just, to serve them, yeah.
to do the credit, yeah.
Talk to your
So
town, the bank of the town, they'll point you in the direction.
Yeah.
Because the banks who deal with credit scores, you get
So taking that approach is going to impact those who are paying but potentially late within the town. That's not addressing the people who
Right.
are going 3,
We
4,
would-
10, 12 years.
We would have to modify our bylaw to say when we start reporting, because like, we are generally flexible, right? Like, within a certain degree.
But really, I mean, people should be paying on time.
Yes,
Right.
I agree that they should be. But some don't.
Okay.
I'm trying not to use.
Well, that was the.
Yeah, but I guess, like, implementing that where you're reporting monthly, you're all of a sudden going to start impacting the people who have been a
I
month or
I
two.
just used that as an example. You could report it annually,
Yeah.
I think basically what
whatever it is.
FCA had indicated was they would come back.
We have to come back,
They'll
yeah.
come back
Yeah.
with some recommendations, really good input by everyone.
Yeah.
We do have a recommendation on the floor to move forward with at least where we're at right now.
Yeah.
This is something, I think we all agree, I think it's well with the
We all
administration.
get heated about
I've been in other municipalities where they talk about the exact same unfortunate problem.
Yeah.
This is not, and actually just here, I do think that's the best practices that maybe at a UMD conference that could be talked about in a session on how we tackle this, so. With that, do we have a motion to accept? Or do we have a?
We have
a motion already, so all in favor? Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried, and we look forward to having more lively discussions on this. With it, item 8.3, health and safety.
So, as council knows, the town is working with, Work Safety Brunswick, so the provincial occupational health and safety regulator, on a complete review of our health and safety program. So, that involved everything under legislation, best practice, everything under the sun. We're going piece by piece because it's very cumbersome. We are, for the record, much further ahead than most they work with, but we want to try to get closer to that 100% compliance and kind of meeting best practice. But we are reviewing everything that we have. So right now, the town has, for context, a health and safety policy that meets our legislative requirements. That is an all-encompassing health and safety policy. So the intent and the reason for that is, quite frankly, because policies at our level require council authorization. So within the context of the Occupational Health and Safety Act, it requires approval from the highest level of authority, which is council. But from WorkSafe's perspective, the health and safety policy, if they use their kind of recognition of that, needs to be a one-page item. We had something that was similar that was in our employee manual that was called the Corporate Commitment to Safety, I think it was titled. So in consultation with WorkSafe, they're proposing that we replace our what we call health and safety program with that corporate commitment to safety. And then there's different protocols and processes in place that address what is currently in our today, before this is ratified, health and safety policies. That's everything from PPE requirements, violence in the workplace, harassment in the workplace, all those legislative requirements that are in our, I want to say 9 pages of our health and safety policy. So there was a revised draft that was added today. She just came back with one other piece of information in the employee and managers and supervisors section, which is really the intent of the policies. It outlines the responsibilities and the obligation of the town as the employer, employees that are fulfilling responsibilities with the town, and then with managers and supervisors who also have legislated requirements. So that's the recommendation. The other piece, just update wise of where we're at, is they signed off today on what's called the hazard report form, which is just basically a form that gets filled out when it doesn't quite meet the threshold of formal incident report. So those will be rolled out to staff tomorrow as well with the health and safety policy, assuming it's ratified this evening. And then next week, our next step is reviewing the incident reporting and ironically, emergency communication. And when we phone 911 about emergency lines and when we don't. So a timely item of discussion, but those are our next 2 pieces. So we're working piece by piece because it is a bit cumbersome. So with that, there is a recommendation on the floor.
I'll move that council approve the revised health and safety policy and direct administration to continue ongoing work with WSNE for the health and safety program improvements including updating the former health and safety policy into appropriate policies, codes of practice, or guidelines, which shall remain in effect until such a point they are updated as part of the process.
Moved by Councillor Colwell, seconded by Councillor Bannister. Questions to the motion? See no questions to the motion, all in favor? Three minded, motion carried. Moving on to item 8.4, ATV access bylaw update.
Another one of our favorite topics that seemed to be coming back on the agenda without resolve. So as council knows, on multiple occasions, we've submitted requests to the province, specifically DTI and Justice and Public Safety, with respect to street access. The background in your CRF provides some of that context, but it started with requesting all streets, including main connectors and LSDs, which they rejected, and then included a formal second submission, which included streets that some of which have been approved through a highway use permit, and the remainder that they will not approve. So they've essentially said that beyond the highway use permit that were issued, or one permit for multiple streets that was issued earlier this year in June. Beyond that, the request for street access will not be permitted, nor will the remainder of what was initially proposed through highway use permits, specifically for two items. One, Fredericton Road, in terms of traffic counts, lack of shoulder and speed, and second, the overpass that crosses the Trans-Canada. So knowing that there's a bit of that closure, I guess, per se, we had conversations with Quad NB, who is essentially the in-between between the province and the town on this, and they recommended to Quad NB that we explore essentially private landowner agreements to extend the trail. With that, we met with the local ATV club, including the representative on Quad NB's board for our area, who is the former president of our local club, so he has the context there. We met with them late in August to discuss what that might look like and whether or not there was an appetite from the club to do that. And there is. The members may not know, but the club does recognize that the town has been working with them as much as we possibly can with the provincial regulatory requirements that they continue to change to try to get this approved. But ultimately, we've identified very conceptual, because we can't put in public record specific property owners, but what I will say is there's a handful. It's not a super cumbersome piece. We know all of the landowners, or Quad NB does, so it's not a huge deal. Some of the pieces that we're looking for direction from council is a few different items. One, is this reasonable? Like, is this what we want to do instead of street access, knowing that otherwise we will not be able to get further up Fredericton Road? And two, if we do that, do we want to work with the ATV Association to just facilitate landowner consultations to just be an ATV trail? In which case, it won't necessarily be much of what we would call a formalized trail. Or do we want to be a partner and facilitate a multi-use or multi-purpose trail, which then the town would need to enter into formal easements like we did with the existing trails, and as opposed to just agreements. And the town cannot get funding for it unless it's open to pedestrians. So knowing that will be a question, the province will not give funding for trails unless it's open. They call them greenway trails, just based on their priorities right now. So those are kind of the two pieces in the CRF. To save ourselves from going through every piece, there's some of the pros and cons. We could go on for those forever, but we can also go on forever about the provincial process and some of the challenges that we've had. But ultimately, we are looking for direction. If council wants to proceed, and the ATV club's been upfront and said they'd be willing to contact landowners to ride the trail or conceptual trail with a GPS to map something out, then go back to the landowners, and if it is multi-purpose, we would engage who we usually work with on trail design to be able to explore what some options would be. Probably not 3 meter, well, it needs to be wider than 3 meters, but not stone dust trail. Like it would not be the same, but there's ways to explore different options in terms of what that might look like. I don't have the answers today because we haven't gone there yet. So with that, there is a recommendation on the floor. And then we can answer questions. The only other piece that I'll flag in the CRF is the legal considerations, just the difference of easement versus land use. Same thing for the people that are on it, except if the town gets funding, the province will want to see easements, not just agreements. They're harder to remove because they're registered on the property. It includes the same insurance indemnification clauses, so that is fine. And the other piece is an update the town will issue publicly, given we get requests every now and then on this, if council chooses to proceed. So with that, recommendation on the floor and then questions and discussion.
Go ahead.
I'll move that in light of provincial concerns with ATV access on Fredericton Road, council directs staff to begin formally exploring ATV trail extension of the eastern corridor of Fredericton Road as a multi-use trail, including for motorized vehicles and pedestrians, and report back to council with landowner negotiations, updates, costing, and conceptual options once available.
Second.
So moved by Councillor Dexter, second by Councillor Bannister, questions for the motion.
I do have a question.
Councillor Glenn.
Would there be any concerns with crossing the CN tracks on Fredericton Road to get to McWilliam?
Yep. Very similar to the Trans-Canada, the map would probably show a gap that would be at its own.
So if we're encouraging people to use a gap
Yeah,
and a place where they're gonna try to cross the overpass, does that reduce our likelihood of being approved?
no, it just required signage.
Okay.
Yeah, is basically the piece. The CN piece is a little bit different. There is a crossing right now. The main concern of the ATV club is actually the fee for crossing, so you have to pay, I don't know if it's a rental fee, whatever you want to call it. We already pay that for Fredericton Road, so it might be easier than we anticipate, but in the worst case scenario, that's probably what it would entail. We have contacts at CN that if we choose to proceed, we'll have those conversations.
I have a question. The proposed high-level concept of the multi-use trail is going from somewhere in Hilltop.
Yeah.
To the Trans-Canada Highway.
Truman, it'll go to Truman Street, so,
Truman is which one? That's
the
the one that we're
concrete
putting
pad.
on the highway?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
concrete pad, yeah, so, it will not cross the Trans-Canada. So, on the other side of the Trans-Canada, there is, a trail that I don't think has a highway use permit. I know there's an application in with the Bumpkin Club. And they have, I don't know if it's formal again, but informal landowner permission to access some of those pieces. Chances are, if we get approval for that, there will be pressure from some of the business community to the province to facilitate some sort of access. So whether that's the overpass or the Trans-Canada, further east, I guess, there's a crossing now at the overpass. I guess the legislation allows snowmobiles to cross, but not ATVs. I don't know why, but the ATV club also has a benefit in coming west more, because there are challenges they have the further east they go on this concept plan. So nothing that can't be overcome, but they would welcome an option to have a federated trail on the opposite side, so.
And, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Kind of adjacent to this and with the trail that we already have, that's a shared trail that we have a bridge that's open to pedestrians.
Sure is open.
How do we ensure safety between ATVs and pedestrians?
Yeah.
Do we slow traffic down and kind of along the same lines? The condition of that trail is not the same as the rest of our trails.
Correct, yeah, so we've had conversations on the conditions. I think every time that Trevor and I have been out of the office at the same time, we've been stopped on, said, looking at that project and looking at other extensions, people have come up to us, which means I'm sure they get it more than with just I'm there, but for various different people we've been asked. Our agreement or reciprocal has measures for grading, not to the same standard that we have, so we've explored some conversations and council will probably see something in the budget to maintain that to a different degree, so that addresses the grading piece. With respect to safety, yeah, it's a risk. We have tons, I shouldn't say tons, many signs on order now for that multi-use trail to advertise that it's shared. As you approach the bridge, there will also be delineations that'll be put up in the winter time, specifically for the snowmobile. So we went back as recently as today with the snowmobile club, with the one site a couple weeks ago. So there'll be signs as you approach that, and there'll be physical delineations on the bridge where there's more risk, like height. But then the rest of that is signage and promotion of the clubs. Both clubs are good partners and are willing to share that messaging for us too.
Can I just add to that, because we're not the only people that share trails in New Brunswick or any of the Atlantic provinces. There's many, many shared trails. So snowmobilers, when they see these signs, pedestrians or shared trail, very respective. There's cross-country skiers out there, there's horseback riders, there's all kinds of, you know, hikers, lots of hikers, but when you know it's a shared trail, and I mean, the people walking here, you coming before you're ever gonna see them.
Yeah.
Like, so typically, like that person is already aware there's something coming and they get off to the side. I mean, it's using these trails, it's very much so, like throughout the whole province, everybody's aware that there's a lot of shared trails out there. And the signage is key. Signage is key.
Yeah.
And that
So I
was
got
all I
one
was thinking
yesterday.
was, because I know the signage isn't there today.
Yeah, no, but signage is key, that's right.
I think we ordered, I don't know off the top of my head, but I think it was like 34 signs. So it's not one or two, there's a lot.
More notice for the, you know, the ATV or the snowmobiler.
The better.
The
Yeah.
better.
There's multiple of the shared trails in different spots, entrances, trailheads where they park. And then the rest will be as you approach, the trestle in particular, there'll be, warnings, slow speed warning.
Nice.
And then, signs on the trestle itself.
I think this would be a wonderful, like a beautiful plan Z to this whole ATV thing. To have a pedestrian trail.
The silver lining, yeah.
I feel honestly, because having like children and young teenager adults who be walking there going to work and the traffic is faster.
And much cheaper than the sidewalks that we just included.
Right, and, but it would be also just a beautiful
Yeah.
trail.
It seems people are loving the trails too.
Yes.
Absolutely.
100%. We jokingly have said like we had it was a 10-year plan, I think, that council approved in 23 from the Service Commission on trails, and we completed that in 2024. So we've got to think of what we can go to next. So this is in alignment with things like our rec master plan. It might not get done as fast as some of our other trail pieces, funding contingent, but it would definitely be in alignment with what people want and would be a huge win and cost saving.
Yeah, for sure.
So how fast can we get the rest of the road access?
The rest of the road access would be dependent on these landowner agreements, then there would be a few municipal streets. Those would be quick if we had the landowner agreements.
Do we need to wait for that, or can we roll out for those?
Yeah, because otherwise you have the province needs like a start and an end. They're very clear on that. So, sometimes in certain cases, landowner negotiations can be long and painful. We don't foresee that in this case.
To that point, the start and end, do they all have to necessarily end in downtown Salisbury? Or can they be, some of the LSDs have a start and end of a section?
Yeah,
Definitely.
Just to legalize, formalize, and say from this point to this point is legal.
Yeah.
Even though the overpass on the present road is a non-starter.
right.
And then to that point, crossing the Trans-Canada, that particular point is not allowed.
Right.
Are they allowed to legally cross the Trans-Canada itself? Therefore, does it have to go through the Scott Road and or Upper Mountain Road?
You'd have to cross the overpass to get there. You'd have to cross one of the two.
No, but I'm saying if the Frederickson Road overpass is not allowed,
Yeah.
can the Scott Road overpass or the Upper Mountain Road overpass be designated as the potential
Potentially, but you have to
start
get,
and what, who cares?
you have to get there.
That road would be an underpass, wouldn't it?
Scott Road.
Fair enough.
Yeah. They would,
Yeah.
they would rather underpass and overpass.
But just to say that this is the start and end, so that goes through here, whether people do it or not is immaterial.
Yeah,
To get the full access to the rest of the areas.
you'd have to get there is the only challenge. So,
Who cares how long it is? But it opens up the other
The
road.
province does. Frederick Road is too long. That's the challenge, right? Like that.
Because again, the homestead has shoulders. The
Right.
whole homestead should be allowed. Of any road around, the homestead should be allowed. And that's a straight shot right to Pettigodiac or to Mountain.
At 100 kilometers an hour. That was their initial concern.
The shoulder is so big on that road. It was a former
I think-
highway.
I think, yes, agree, but they don't let them on Trans-Canada either.
It
right?
shouldn't be on the Trans-Canada.
Okay, so I think if, like, we can certainly look at options.
Yeah, it's further exploration and there's gonna be advocacy.
I want direction on that
Yeah,
though.
but we're gonna take direction on that, just everybody's point around, this is a lively topic, it's one we're passionate about as we
Yeah.
should be. And again, to, I think Councillor Bannister's point earlier, that this is not rocket science around the maritime, it's everywhere. We want to be forward-thinking
Yeah.
residents. We need to connect point A to B with longer runs, but we'll continue on that. And for tonight, we have
Just for clarity before that motion's passed though, like if that is the direction, I want a formal amendment to direct us accordingly, just because it's
Just-
the first,
yeah.
the first
Well, this-
round
this-
was,
okay.
the first round we submitted with LSD access, the province said flat out no. So, if we do that, we risk having to go a fourth time. We can take that risk, that's fine. We can explore different options, see what they want to take. But I want that in
But
the.
to me, you can have the second application ready to go once the first one's done. Just if they don't want to have it all at once, that you have it in series, so that the next one falls, the next one falls, so that you keep hammering them to death with this foolishness, because it's happening anyways, and the RCP has no ability to keep tabs on it.
Started this conversation in 2018.
So this is just ridiculous at this point. So whatever way we have to contort ourselves to get as many road access as possible.
So then, and I think that's always been the intent, but we've been going on it for multiple years.
So if you do it 1 kilometer at a time, so be it.
Okay, so in that case, I'm fine with this directive, but when we come back, we're not gonna come back with LSD routes, like that needs to be clear.
That can be later.
Okay, yeah, okay,
Yeah, we need something before we get nothing.
right,
Get some
If it's
Okay,
already been
yeah.
disclosed.
We
then-
know that we need something.
so,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
snail's pace, so
It's
that's.
a great idea that I like that.
Okay.
That's what-
So, all in favor? I'm reminded, motion carried, you have your direction. Moving on to item number 9, bylaws, no, nothing to discuss this evening, no closed session. Moving on to item number 11, mayor and councilor statements, I'll just quite quickly for the Salisbury Petticoat Minor Basketball or Baseball Association. They hosted the 13 provincials on the long weekend with 17 teams visiting both Three Rivers and Salisbury. It was a phenomenal job by our recreation department, but as well, all the volunteers from Salisbury Minor Bat Baseball. Bringing 17 teams in from an economic impact was very huge, but we had the mayor of Shediac who was in, spent the weekend and had a great time as well. So kudos to them because it was definitely a well-run show. But kudos to our recreation department as well, because it couldn't happen without it. And the students went back the summer, and I think this was one of the best summers we've had ever with the students. So thank you to them with that council.
Can I make a comment? And I think this is for Trevor. Trevor, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
So I just want to tell you, and I don't know who's responsible for this, but the cutting on side of the roads. Are you seeing that in your LSD?
Ditching, yeah.
The ditching?
Ditch cutting. or-
So I don't know if you have, I'm giving you the credit for this. Because it is phenomenal. I'm gonna tell you that the guy that was cutting on the Sanatorium Road and going back through my ward, he's had residents stop him and tell him that there hasn't been anyone ditched in the past 40 years as good as this guy has. He's a young fella.
Hire
He's like a young person, and it's just incredible to see that he is so passionate, and he's like doing like second and third swipes.
Okay.
Like it's
Yeah,
phenomenal.
Yeah, we've had a lot of calls on the ditches and I've forwarded those on to DTI, so
Please do.
maybe that's been effective.
Please do, because I want everybody to take a drive to my ward, okay? And I want you to see, because what people don't realize is there's so many live animals, there's so many deer jumping, and to have it properly ditched for the residents really means a lot. So thank you, kudos to the person that got the contract and the job that they are executing, because it's phenomenal.
So I think we should forward that on.
Yeah, we'll let
It's
him know.
very good feedback.
And this little fellow was just smiling from ear to ear, like, because he says everybody's telling him that they're just loving the work he's doing. So I think it's
Yeah.
making him work harder too.
We're quick to criticize, I think it's all.
That's it.
No, we
I
can
tried.
reach out to DTI and pass along the
Please.
thanks. And like I said, we have received a lot of calls about the ditches, and like I have forwarded those on to DTI, and hopefully that's made a difference.
Well, we get it on the complaint side. It's nice to get it on the praise side, that the work is actually being appreciated
It looks like somebody cares.
and recognized.
Very important.
So great job.
Oh, thank you.
Right, any additional comments? We'll move on to item 12, notices of motions, which we do not have any in file. And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn? So it's moved by Deputy
Second.
Martinez, seconded by Councillor Bannister. All in favor?
Aye.
We are now adjourned.